So Anthony Mackie went viral the other day when he went on the Pivot podcast and said some interesting things in reference to masculinity. So let's react to the clip together and then got some thoughts on the other end.
I keep my boys humble. Like my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. You know, my boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids. And no, I don't give a I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid.
You know, it's funny because at first I wasn't too sure what he meant by internet fly shit, but just thinking about it, I feel like, I might know exactly what it is that he means because there tends to be a ton of people who go online showing off their possessions, their clothes, their items, their lifestyle in general. And you stop to think for a second, like, who are you showing off to? And it looks even weirder when it's young people because you think to yourself, they ain't even got no money. That's their parents' money. And it's funny because it's this idea when you're younger, like you're doing things to try to force being older, not realizing that if you're lucky enough, you're gonna live the majority of your life as an adult. So like those years as a kid are really important and most of your life won't be there. So it's kind of important to cherish that. So it makes sense to me if he's trying his best to raise humble, respectful young men and he doesn't want them to be started on this braggadocious internet persona who's attempting to, catch up with the Joneses or whatever phrase we use in the modern era to represent people who are effectively chasing a standard that they have no business chasing in the first place. So, yeah, totally get it. Just a few thoughts there. Let's keep going.
Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he gonna straighten the other ones out. So it's just that thing of, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male.
Hold. I got some thoughts on that, but we're going to let him finish what he has to say here, and we'll get into it afterwards.
They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open the door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always, since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. You make sure these doors are locked every night, this alarm is on, you text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world, jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there, And so for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
Now he goes on to say American masculinity is different, and you feel it when you go out to other places in the world. To him, it's very important. So to the people out there upset that he's instilling his boys with the concepts of American masculinity, I think y'all need to just chill and listen to what it is he's saying because I really don't see a problem with it. And look, while I get it, you don't want to go around telling a 2-year-old the world is on his shoulders and he needs to be prepared to carry it. I think it's perfectly reasonable to teach your sons about responsibility to themselves, to their families, certain aspects of leadership, and how to conduct and handle themselves in public, as how you are perceived as a person, man or woman, is important, especially if you intend on being a staple or role model in your local community. Now, the next thing I want to yap about for the next few minutes is this idea that he talked about, American masculinity being killed. And for that, we have to ask the question, do we believe it's actually dead? And since there isn't really a way to quantify it, we have to go off of vibes. And so I'd argue it isn't dead, but it may have been greatly diminished. Of course, depending upon how you're looking at it. I'm talking the old action superheroes, the Rockies, the Arnolds, these hyper-masculine stoic figures that were for a time synonymous with our identities. They don't really exist like that anymore, or at least have the same impact in our culture as they once did. So if we're gonna go off of that idea, then we have to ask ourselves the question, why do we think that is? And why do some people believe the focus away from the ideals portrayed by those characters in culture means the death of masculinity? And I think it's probably an unfortunate consequence of our noble attempts to bring about equality amongst the genders. In my view, the world has problems propping up one group without denigrating the other, or at least perceiving it that way. People view things as zero-sum a lot more than I honestly wish they would. So as the project has been in recent times to highlight, uplift, and focus on women and women's issues to bring about equality where there may have been gaps over the years, the focus has been taken off of men and men's issues, even in some cases being anti-men. And I feel the pendulum shifting in one direction has bred resentment from the people focused on the other as they gravitate more and more towards it. This is how guys who are basically walking memes of hypermasculinity like Andrew Tate were even able to garner a following in the first place, in my view. For all the crazy and harmful things he said and potentially have done, like seriously, what's up with dude? People liked his confidence and how he carried himself in interviews, conversations, and media in general. Even though more often than not, dude does incredibly cringe things online. Like seriously, what's up with this guy? I'd argue the same thing about our president right now. I didn't vote for the man and think he's ridiculous in more ways than one, but seeing how voting trends for young men shifted towards his direction, along with the entire brosphere online, I think it's no coincidence that there are certain traits people are gravitating towards, even if, in my view, there are from the worst examples of masculinity. And it's unfortunate because I believe toxic masculinity and its potential negative effects on men is an important conversation to have, at least to the degree in which I believe it exists. And that's if we put our focus on elements like the emphasis on dominance, aggression, emotional repression, and any feminine quality on a man. But I think staying in that conversation without mentioning toxic femininity or how people can be toxic in general starts to put us in a place where we demonize masculinity as a whole. And that is something we should not do, as I believe the demonization leads to shifts in perception and culture that has led people like Anthony Mackie and others to believe that American masculinity has been killed or is at least under attack. At least that's what I got from it. It's throwing the baby out with the bathwater instead of focusing on some of the traits that some of our best leaders encompass, like strength, courage, accountability, authenticity, emotional intelligence, and resilience. And look, if these are the qualities we want to teach to our sons and our daughters for that matter, then personally, I see no problem with that. Anyways, that's my perspective. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you haven't already and subscribe, as I got much more content like this on the way. So until next time, YouTube, peace.